2 and 1 stem and leaf plots by example. So these particular plots in statistics are not super often, I guess, used, but they're used and definitely taught in school. So I want to give you a couple of examples to show you how to create them. They're probably the least amount of work in reality in comparison to some of the other plots and charts and graphs that you have. So for example, something like a Pareto chart, I can put a link up to that Pareto chart if you like up above, is a lot of work. And this one, on the other hand, is a little bit less work. Now, stem and leaf plots are utilized mostly for quantitative data instead of qualitative data, and they can be used for both discrete and continuous quantitative data. If you have forgotten about that, I can put a link to qualitative and quantitative, and they talk about continuous and discrete by examples. So in this example, we have a certain amount of data collected, so it's about 20 sample points. Now we don't know obviously how this was collected or anything like that, but now we want to be able to kind of organize it and then present it in some particular way, and that particular way is through a stem and leaf plot. So a stem and leaf plot utilizes the numerical values to actually create a plot, almost like having a stem. You can think of like a branch, and then from that branch, you have certain leaves that are coming off. So when you're doing that, let's imagine that we have this branch right here. Okay, so here's your branch, and then we have, our leaves coming out, okay, from all over this branch. Or, okay, you have a stem, and then you have certain leaves from that particular stem. So here is your stem right there, and then you would have your leaves that would be attached, okay, in some way in this particular form. Now, our stem is formed by a number, and then the actual leaves are formed by the rest of the numbers, so in particular by the digits. So in this case, as you can see, we have an example which says the number of days student room was cleaned in May. So let's say maybe somebody was asked, or they were tracking on their own how many times they've cleaned it, or to just you have, so here it looks like we have 20 data points, so maybe 20 students were asked in a class, and then how many times have they cleaned the room, and you have 5 times, 14 times, 17 times, and so on. So if you wanted to represent this in a stem and leaf, so what we do is we have to kind of see what will be the stem, which digit will be the stem, and then which digits will be the leaves in this particular data set. So very often, because these are really just 2-digit numbers or 1-digit numbers, and so what we have is we have the following. So I'm gonna take all my 1-digit numbers, and I'm going to circle them in here. So we have 5, 3, 9, 2, 7, 0. There's 7 again and 7 again right there. So those are all my single digit numbers. Now I'm going to take all my double digit numbers, and I'll take the double digit numbers here for convenience, the ones that have a leading 1 in them. So the leading ones are 14, so 17, 11, 14 again, 19, 13, and it looks like that is pretty much it. Now we've missed one single digit here, which was 8. So that's what we have there. Now I'm going to take all my double digits, except in this case, the ones that have a leading 2. So in the 20s, so 20s, 20s, so 20s here, and then lastly, here is my lonely 30. So someone in May, okay, someone who was legitimate that they clean the room almost every day. So, or at least tidy it up and somehow. So now, notice that I basically created kind of 4 different groups. And I'll try to explain to you what the stems are and then what the leaves are actually for each of these groups. So in these stem and leaf plots, we like to take, so either double digits or triple digits or quadruple digits and so on. And then we take the first leading number or the first two leading numbers, and then we create a stem out of it. So what I mean by that is, so if I take all the single digit numbers, now because they're only a single digit, I can place a 0 in front of them. All right, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, here is, okay, all the numbers that are single digit. So they're going to start with a 0. So if I write 0, 5, it's the same thing as 5. Or if I write 0, 3, it means the same thing. And now in this column, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to write out all my leaves, okay, that are belonging to 0. So now notice I'm going to arrange them from smallest to largest. So here it's going to be, so that's 0, so that's this one. The next one is looks like it's 2, so that's this one. Then the next one is 3, and then after that it's 5. So I have 5 there. After 5, so let's say, so we have 3, we have 5, we have 2, 0. All right, so the next one is, so now we have a few 7s, 7, 7, 7, so that's that. And then finally we have an 8 and then a 9, so 8 and a 9. So in this stem and leaf, what I'm doing is, this is actually my stem, and then all of these are going to be my leaves. So all of these are my leaves of that particular stem. And now if I do this, I'm going to continue this, and then hopefully it's going to kind of pop out at you so that you understand what we're doing. So the next one is all the digits or all the numbers that are in kind of 10, okay, and above. So 2-digit numbers starting with a leading 1. So I'm going to put 1 here as my leading stem, and then I'm going to put all the leaves associated with that. So again, from smallest to largest. So 11. So notice that's going to be 1, 1, which makes it 11. Then we have 13. So that's going to be 1, 3. Okay, so that's the 1, that's the 3. Okay, so we have a leading 1 in there. So that's what we have there. Then we have a 14. We actually have a couple of 14s here and here. So to write 14, so that's the 1, and then 4 and 4. So that's that. Then we have a 17, and then we have a 19. So 7 and 9. So again, notice that your stem is the 1, so that's your leading 1, and then you have all your leaves which are associated with that particular stem. And what that means is that these are all the digits. So for example, 1, 1 means 11 is there, 13 is there, 14 is there, 14 again, 17 and 19. So that represents your data. And now you can do that again, all right, with the 20s. So I'm going to do that with the 20, and I'll kind of speed it up for you in the video, all right? And then I'll do the 30 as well. All right, and that finishes our actual stem and leaf chart or plot that we have. So it basically looks like almost like a table of values, where your stem in this case is your leading number, and then your leaves are your kind of secondary numbers, so the second digits, and they capture the entire data. And what this is nice for is that you can very quickly tell and see where the majority of the actual numbers. So clearly, you know, students don't like to clean their room, so they don't do it too often, and so it's swayed more towards the single digits than it is, you know, just to the odd one. Someone did it, you know, 30 times in a month. So that's how you create these stem and leaf plots. So again, so your stem is, you can think of a stem and then you can find your leaves, which are basically just growing out of your stem that you have. So this is one example. Let's take a look at another example, which is a little bit more complicated, and I will draw a stem and leaf for that. So the second example here is we have 100 swimmers, we have 100 meter swimming times by 20 female swimmers. Now, just looking at these times, these are really fast for anyone who has swam before. I certainly cannot swim even close to that. So these are really, really fast times. So in any case, so we have probably some competitive swimmers here, and there's 20 different times that we have. And we have, so it's 57.25 seconds, 59.05 seconds, 57.77 seconds, and so on. And then the ones, so we have 1 minute, so in the second column, 1 minute, 0.52, all right, 1 minute, 1 second, 0.82, and so on. So we have all of these different times for these swimmers. So how are we going to create a stem and leaf? So we're going to have to try to pick in some way some convenient stem, and then the leaves will follow. So in the previous example, I basically picked the first digit as my stem, and then my second digit became all my leaves. So that's what we had right here. So first digit, and then my leaves became my second digit. In this case, now, because we're dealing here with seconds and minutes and so on, so I guess I will have to, try to kind of change things up a little bit, and then see, okay, how I'm going to pick my stem. If I would pick my stem just by my leading digit, so for example, by my 5, all right, so it's all of them, a lot of them are in the 50-second range, I would have a lot of data in that stem. So that wouldn't be very convenient to pick as a stem if I just put 5, because then I would have almost all the data following, and I would have all of these leaves on that stem. So it wouldn't really give me some kind of a sense. So instead, what I can do is, I can pick the stem as the first two kind of leading digits that I have. So for example, I can pick 57 as my stem, and then see, okay, how many 57s do I have in there, which is going to be followed by the decimal. So notice 57, 57, and then I can pick 58. Now the minutes, so notice there's a minute, 0.52. I can change those as the researcher or someone who's analyzing this. Instead of having the minute, I can change that into seconds. So the 100.52, I can change that to 60 seconds, right? Because that's minute, so it'll be 60.52. The 1 minute and 1 second, 0.82, I could change that to 61 seconds, 82. So let me do that. So I'm going to kind of replace this and then change everything back into seconds first, and then I'll create my stem and the leaf. All right, so let me fast forward through that and do it quick. All right, so we're back. So now basically everything is in seconds here. And now I can create my stems and then my leaves. So as I said, I'm not going to pick the single digit, right? So because if I picked 5 and then, my second stem would have been a 6, then I would have had only 2 stems, and then all of those numbers, the leaves would have been following. So instead, a more convenient way is to have a stem with 2 leading digits. And then the decimal places, so 0.25 is going to follow, and then 0.5. So let me do that. So now I have to find which one is the smallest one. Is it 57? Yeah, so it looks like it. Okay, so I'm going to create my stems here. So I'm going to have 57, so that's going to be one of my stems. 58, so it's going to start going up, so 58. Okay, so that's going to be there, and then 59, we can put that as a stem. So then it's going to be 60. You know what, let me maybe group it together. So I'm going to do this. 57, so 58, 59, 60. I think the last one was 61. I don't see any 62s in there. So this would have been our stem here. So that's our stem. And now, okay, so we're going to create our leaves. So this is going to be our leaves that we have. And now, so let's not forget, so this is 57 point. It's going to look something like that. And now we're going to have to go through this. So let me highlight for myself. So all the 57s. So I have 57 here, 57 here. And that is it. All right, and I put them from lowest to largest. So that is going to be, so 25 is one of them, and then 77 is the other. All right, so those are two data points that I have. Now let's take a look at 58. So we have, 58s. So 58 here, 58 here, here, here. Okay, so there's a lot of, okay, so that's it for 58s. So now for 58, so the smallest one, so this is 0, 2, so that's this one. Then it becomes 0, 5, so that's that one. Then it is 0, 9, 18, and 70. Okay, so I think you now get the gist of this. All right, so let me finish this up. Okay, for 59, 60, and 61, and then we'll end it there. All right, so let me fast forward this, okay, so that you can see it done in quick motion. All right, so that finishes this up, and now we have our stem, and then we have our leaves. And then you can kind of nicely capture this if you like, just to draw it out, and then so that it nicely shows. Okay, so all of these out. Okay, and then you can see which ones were kind of the ones that had the most. So notice obviously the fastest swimmers there were in that 57 range, and there was only 2 that were able to do that. All right, so that is stem and leaf plots, okay, and that's how you construct them. I hope these examples were useful. See you in a future video.